Welcome back to Midwest eSports Formula One Division One racing here on Nick and Mitch. And tonight we are in Mexico City, Mexico for race 6 of the season.
Yes, it is going to be a fantastic contest here tonight. Almost as fantastic as that lobby music was, that Christmas trap getting us in the holiday spirit here over at Nick and Mitch. We are covering Midwest Formula One Division One yet again here tonight. So we're going to see all of the same players that we have been covering for the first half of the season, barring a few substitutions, which we will get to shortly. But before qualifying gets underway, we did want to wrap up last week's race. From Belgium, we had a few incidents involving one driver on the grid. That driver was none other than Race Day. And there were only a few movements, a few position changes on the grid. And it was all because of Race Day's penalties, the steward's findings. So there were 4 incidents reported and reviewed by the stewards. Only 3 of those were validated with penalties and repercussions. Those 3 were Race Day's incident with Gott Palmer, where he received a 5-second penalty and 1 league penalty point. Race Day and Scarenzi in lap 20 was waved off, as both drivers were kind of at fault in a game of DRS chicken. But then again, in lap 22, the same 2 drivers came together yet again, and Race Day cut across Scarenzi's front wing, earning himself another 5-second penalty and another league penalty point. And finally, the final incident was between Race Day and Cynical, with Race Day not leaving enough space through the second corner of the chicane and messing up Cynical's line there. That was yet another, say it with me, 5-second penalty and 1 league penalty point, bringing his total in Belgium to a 15-second penalty and a whopping 3 league penalty points in 1 race. That moved him. I believe he was in 3rd place, correct? Crossing the line.
I think he went from P2 to P10 after
That's
all of
what
that.
it was. Yeah. So just a massive migration southbound on the grid last week for race day. So everybody else from 3rd to 10th moved up 1 point. So minimal movements in the points game last week, but very significant there for race day, getting 3 league points on his license. Along with those whopping 15 seconds of incident penalties, not even just, corner cutting track limits. Those were incidents with other drivers. So we'll see if he can keep it clean here today in that Ferrari as we are out on track now. 16 minutes to go in Q1 and only as we are on board with a replacement driver in the AlphaTauri, Travis Scott.
Yes, and Ferrari did have a good week last week still. Kelly Robb took home the victory. Race day was in 2nd, so he dropped to 10th. So they weren't able to gain any ground on Aston Martin. They're still about 40 points behind them. Scarenzi, after the incident, I think dropped down to 6th place. He was also competing up in that 2nd, 3rd, 4th. But the other Aston Martin did finish up there. And that would be Cynical after everything happened. He moved up into 2nd place.
Yeah.
And it was Kelly Robb's first Division 1 win last week, too.
Yeah, which was huge. I mean, we did see that game of DRS chicken going between those, which has spurred some discussion between the league as a whole in the wording and the legitimacy of DRS chicken and how that will be handled in future events. Both of those drivers kind of holding back and screwing up the rest of the pack pace there as they were both fighting to try and get DRS ahead of one another. That eventually allowed Kelly Robb to, sorry, did I just say the right person? To take first.
I believe that's when Kelly Robb did jump up into first and
Yes.
Said it 2 seconds ago. Cynical, but also went by at that point in time, and then they were all very close when some of the incidents went down. That's how rules and league rules get longer and longer and longer, right? We're 11 seasons in and new rules are still being worked and tweaked just because things will happen out on track.
Exactly. Yeah, it's constantly fluid. We're constantly evolving, and you're never going to know what you need to adjust until that thing happens and it's brought to light. We see Aero Racing setting the fastest pace of the session so far. 2 minutes in, we are at a 1:17.474. That is in an Alpine. Aero Racing looking for a decent day here in Mexico. We do have a couple of drivers that will not be on grid, or rather are not on the track right now in qualifying. Those substitutions are as follows. Lightwork will be out, and instead in his AlphaTauri tonight will be WS Maki. Nice to see him again up in D1. We do have Electric Blade out for the Haas team, but in will be Ray yet again. And Ryan Rods will be out tonight, and in his place, as we saw earlier in qualifying for the other AlphaTauri, will be Travis Scott. Scarenzi was a last-minute call. He was originally not going to make today's race, but he made it happen. He is in the chase for points, both in the constructors and drivers, and it was killing him that he might have had to miss tonight's race, but he was able to figure out whatever was in his way. We will have Scarenzi here tonight, so Slayerized will not get the seat for Aston Martin. But all eyes could be on AlphaTauri tonight as we have 2 replacement drivers taking the grid. It's anyone's guess as to how Maki and Travis Scott will fare today. We've seen Travis Scott this season, and he definitely has pace. We know Maki from past seasons, but today's a new day.
Yeah, and it's tough for AlphaTauri right now. They didn't have Ryan Rods last week either. I think Travis Scott was the only one racing. So not many team points, and Ryan Rods sliding down the Drivers' Championship. He was in 3rd after week 4 and then dropped down to 8th after last week and not racing again tonight. So with some of the points, he could drop down into the 14-15 range. So if he comes back, we know he has the talent. He has crossed the finish line for several times, and he can come and do it again.
Well, as I was spinning a yarn about Maki and how he's going to fare in D1, he set the fastest lap. We're now at a 1:15.9. shaving almost 2 seconds off of Aero Racing's original time of 17.4. Got Palmer now in second place, followed by Cynical. So we're seeing the same players up atop the grid. Of course, we do not have Ryan Rods and Scarenzi sitting back in the pack. That is very typical of the Aston Martin driver. Going to wait a little while, going to get some rubber out there on the track before he decides to set pace. We are on board now, and he's not on an outlap, but it doesn't look like he's going for a time right now. We'll have to see what he posts.
I didn't catch the beginning of his lap, but so far he looks like he's taking the full racing line, and this one is about a 115 on a track, so a shorter track. It's coming to this final corner, very tight wavy corners. I love how it splits through those seats, just an incredible view. And then not much of a run up to the finish line from crossing through. He's going to go up into third right now. He's off of Mackie by about a second, but over 10 minutes left in qualifying. There's going to be several laps out on the track.
Yeah, this track is one of the most raucous on the calendar in real life for Formula One. Mexican fans are just absolutely berserk for motorsports, and that stadium section is just something that I feel like it needs to be experienced in real life. You know, it looks amazing on TV, it looks amazing in the game, but I would love to spend one single race, one single session in that chicane area in that stadium. Just has to be electric. The roar of the crowd, the roar of the engines. It doesn't get much better than that. We saw Sui get a little shaky with it there, trying to rein in the Alfa Romeo. Was it Sui or was it Cake last week? It was Cake Thomas last week who was having trouble reeling in his Alfa Romeo and eventually DNF'd from an incident where he just completely lost the entire car.
Was he the same one that crashed into the wall and his car was perfectly fine? Someone last week had no idea how their car stayed together. I think they hit it just right where the tire and the axle took the brunt, and they were able to swap those parts out, get back out on track.
It's time for our favorite segment of qualifying, as we do have a caution in Sector 1. We'll see if that's an actual incident or just a yield to a faster driver. But we can take a look up into 7th place, the Alpine, driven by none other than Pedro Rodriguez. Mexican driver, lived 1940 to 1971. He began his Formula One career in 1963 and actually won the South African Grand Prix in 1967, along with the Belgian Grand Prix in 1970. His younger brother, also race car driver, Ricardo Rodriguez. Both those brothers started at a very early age on motorbikes in Mexico. So thank you very much, Nikki, for our little history moment. Nikki this season driving under a hometown hero's name. Some of them are deep dives that really don't have a Wikipedia page, but thankfully Pedro does have a nice little write-up. Again, Mexico, one of the best nations for motorsports.
Yeah, they have a ton of history throughout Mexico. Oh, hello to one of the Ferraris. Let's see who that was. Maybe not. Looks like Cali Rob. Just a nice, I would almost call it like an office shot or Parks and Rec. Slide into the front frame.
Yeah.
Grab the focus of the camera. Beautiful shot. This shot's beautiful too. The slight camber on the camera.
Yeah, I do love that all of the different tracks do have a different setup of camera angles. And some of them even have different on-car cameras angle. Like I remember the Brazilian GP where it was like on one of the tire wells or on the front wing. It's wonderful that the game keeps it mixed up like that. But I would still love if we could select our favorite camera angles. And even you and I were playing around in VR this weekend, and we kind of wish that you could spectate as a cameraman in VR as well to get that trackside view. But all in good time. This game is certainly delivering above and beyond. We can always push it a little more. We are on board with GSR Edwin as he is with his teammate L Vitek in 8th and 9th respectively.
I'm trying to find Mercedes on the standings. Here they are. In the Drivers' Championship, they have VTEX in 11th and GSR Edwin is in 13th. There's only about 20 points separating them. It's pretty close in the middle of that pack. And then in the Constructors' Cup, Mercedes has been holding on to 7th for several weeks now at this point. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every week after, oh no, every single week. That was last season. So they have been in 7th after every race, looking to move up and have closed in a bit on the pack in front. They are now right behind AlphaTauri. Last week they were behind Red Bull, but Red Bull jumped over Alpha, and now they are getting closer. They've had some consistent races, so they will be hoping to make that jump up into 6 and separate from the bottom of the pack of McLaren, Haas, and Alfa Romeo, with those 4 being down there for the entire season.
Well, it helps that both cars are on track this week as well, and it hopes that they are able to keep them on track today. So, yeah, Mercedes definitely looking to get out of that 7th place rut, but consistency is key, and there's something to say about that as well. You can only hope that the only way is up from here for the Silver Arrows. Hello to all of our viewers. We haven't seen anyone sounding off in the chat yet, but feel free to leave a message down below for your favorite driver or your commentator. Sorry, I really went off there. But hello, viewers. Thanks for joining us for qualifying. 5 minutes to go. Maki still sitting atop the leaderboard with the AlphaTauri, his replacement AlphaTauri, with a 1:15.9.
And Travis Scott is improving on his time. We'll see if he stays out or goes into the pits. Gets that fresh set of soft tires for the final few laps of qualifying. Never know. Some drivers like to take that shot. I mean, we've got most of them in the pits right now, but if that lap's cooking and cook something. A little bit of the curb. That was the driver in front of him. Never mind.
Maybe a little toasty up there.
The camera maybe faked me out there a little bit. It was his teammate. Inolar Maki.
Hang on a minute. Is Maki smoking?
I think he was just chilling.
Okay. All right.
Going very slow into the pit stop.
I wasn't sure if that was intentional or if he blew his engine. That might have been some lockup smoke there if he was trying to brake and allow his teammate past, but
we'll see. Scarenti is out. Don't listen to me. He was
all good.
On the track.
All of the drivers are ducking in now. You see a couple of them heading out for possibly their final couple of laps here, but drivers putting on new sets of tires for that final push. We are now under 4 minutes to go in Q1 and only before today's race in Mexico gets underway.
We do have Cake Thomas out on the first lap of the final tires here in qualifying. Looks like just a few drivers out right now. Everyone else on their out laps. Gunner in the McLaren, I think he's wrapping up one of his laps. But Cake's got an open track right now to try and set a good time. He's got someone in front of him, though. Looks like one of the Ferraris. Seems to be race day.
Paddock chat saying Travis Scott's might be having some connection issues. The AlphaTauri replacement in 16th right now, asking if he disconnected. Not sure what's going on with his system over there. We're going to try and get him back in the game as soon as possible. But yeah, not to be rude, just to bring up recent events. Hopefully, with all of this open track, Cake is able to keep this car in between the white lines. He was a bit squirrely last week in Belgium, which again led to an early disqualification or a DNF from the race because he bended into a wall. So we'll see if he can keep that rear end in place where it needs to be tonight.
I was just laughing at some of the gifts that were shared in the chat right now. Cake Thomas moved up into 13th, it looks like. We do have other drivers out on their laps. Let's see who's close to the finish. Now it's very packed out on track. You can see LV was setting a faster time, but he's got 3 or 4 or 5 cars in front of him. Looks like he's flying by some. Man, can't get enough of that camera angle. And look at both Mercedes just ripping through there as a team.
Yeah, this track is deceptively difficult. It seems like a pretty quick rip around a 2.67 mile circuit, but the elevation changes are very significant, and the speed differences there as we see LV Tech swirling through a technical bit on back section. The elevation changes, and it's really deceptive how the tires will be worn today. It's always an interesting strategy, or an interesting observation to see how the teams pick their tire strategy. But this one offering some different challenges than we've seen in weeks past. We are all over right now.
It's tough with look down at the sector 3 on the map. A problem with a track that only is a minute 15 seconds long. When you have all 20 cars out there, or almost all 20 cars out there, there's not much room. You don't have a lot of freedom to set your fast time. So we'll see if Mackey can hold his qualifying time. He's currently 6/100ths of a second up on Gott Palmer, who's in Williams in second, followed by Race Day, the Ferrari in third, and just behind him, 4/1000ths of a second, is GSR Edwin. Race Day has now retired from the session. Looks like his car is out just after the first couple of corners. Someone should be passing him soon, but his car has been removed.
Well, with 10 seconds to go in qualifying, Mackey might just be able to hold a pole position start here in Mexico, filling in for AlphaTauri with an early 1:15.9. That is wonderful to see, followed by Gott Palmer up there. We still do have a couple cars out on track, so we will wait to see how they fare on the board. But yeah, like you were saying, with all of the bunching, with 20 cars out on the track at once, and to boot, we have 3 DRS zones tonight. So to say that these packs are going to be a bit animated is a drastic understatement. This might be a very tight, a very scrappy race, but all remains yet to be seen. We have another fastest lap set by Mackey yet again, shaving 0.3 off of his standing position. He's going to cross the line at a 1:15.6, and that's pretty much going to cement his spot on the grid. AlphaTauri sitting pretty up in first.
We did have Sharia Coleslaw jump into 6 at the end. Ray is slightly up on his time, and I think little kiss on the wall going into the pits. I also think I saw Williams, Fireballer, and Gott Palmer near the end. One of them was 2 seconds over his fastest time, but giving a huge draft, a huge toe to his teammate, and then dipped out at the end with about 10 seconds left in the lap, just dipped into the runoff track and let his teammate through. It wasn't enough to move him up by too much.
Well, we'll see if the Williams are able to link up here today and make it happen for their team, as we see Gott Palmer sitting up there looking for yet another podium finish today here in Mexico. He's going to have to get through that AlphaTauri replacement driver, NLR Mackey, sitting pretty up top the grid. We are live from Mexico. Lights Out is up next. We may not have the F1 Mexican theme song, but it is the holidays. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the intro. The race is up next. Feliz Navidad, and welcome to the heart-pounding action of Midwest eSports Mexico Grand Prix. Nestled in the heart of Mexico City, this track is renowned for its challenging layout and passionate spectators. This 2.67 mile circuit boasts a combination of fast straights, tight chicanes, and that incredible stadium section that altogether will certainly test the skills of even the most seasoned of drivers. Keep an eye on the elevation changes as well, because they can catch out the unwary and add an extra layer of complexity to tonight's race. Here in Mexico, we have three DRS zones where drivers can gain that crucial speed advantage. The first zone is on the main straight, as you can see, leading into turn 1, followed closely by the second between turns 3 and 4, and finally, DRS zone 3 is on the back straight between turns 11 and 12. There's no doubt that this triple threat will lead to some strategic battles tonight.
And the Constructors' Cup standings are tighter than Rudolph's nose on a foggy night. Aston Martin, clutching their lead like a prized Christmas cookie, has race day's penalties dangling like a stocking full of coal. But don't count them out yet. They've got the grit of the Grinch and the determination of a chimney-climbing Santa. Ferrari, their engines fueled by Cali Rob's fiery Spa victory, are slaying towards the top like Rudolph and Blitzen combined. Alpine and Williams, like sneaky snowmen, are lurking in the shadows, watching for their chance to nab the podium like a perfectly wrapped present. Red Bull, fueled by Sharia's podium finish and AlphaTauri's one-car gamble, have clawed their way back into the pack like a determined elf on the shelf. Meanwhile, the midfield battle is a tangled mess of tinsel and lights. Mercedes, McLaren, and Haas are locked in a stocking stuffer scrum, each point like a precious lump of coal. Haas, with a lucky reindeer kick from Alfa Romeo's DNF, has snatched 9th place, but they fight for every position. Tonight, the spotlight shines brighter than a Christmas tree on steroids, and one thing's for sure, the Mexico City air is thick with Christmas cheer. Get ready for a race that promises to be a festive frenzy of thrills, spills, and enough twists to make Santa's head spin.
It's time to roast those chestnuts and deck the halls. Lights Out is up next. From Mexico City, this is MidWest eSports Formula One Division 1 on Nick and Mitch.
Are you in the Christmas mood yet?
It is holly and jolly over here, let me tell you.
I am excited to see what goes down on the track tonight. Hopefully we see some presents left out there from the cars.
All right, you need to take a couple seconds, take a breath, and get all of the holiday puns out of your system before we are racing. I don't know if I can professionally finish today's stream if the holiday puns keep up.
We'll try later on. We'll take a little break. That's a lot. It was too much actually at first. I had to cut some of them back. I had like double for each one. There just isn't enough time in that little window between qualifying and the formation lap to, really milk it for all it's worth.
Hey, we were able to stuff that stocking with as many words as we possibly could. So I think that was a treat, not just for us, but for the 2 viewers that we have right now. What's up, Ellie? Thanks for joining us live. We are on the formation lap from Mexico City with an AlphaTauri, a Williams, and an Aston Martin starting out the top 3.
And looking at the rest of the pack, we don't have many teammates close to each other. This might be one of the most spread packs we've seen this season in Division 1. Usually we get the Ferraris or sometimes the Williams, the Aston Martins close to each other here. Red Bulls as well. But right now it's very spread out.
This is going to play into the narrative that continues from the Belgian Grand Prix last weekend with these drivers and some incidents with drivers stopping and taking liberties with their trust, their speed, their lines out on the track. With as fast and as close as these drivers are throughout the race, they rely on each other and trust each other to maintain a certain level of sportsmanship and consistency, predictability, if you will, in their race to keep everybody safe and in action. And without teammates bunched up, it feels like everyone is going to be clawing for position instead of, maybe taking a teammate approach and biding their time, conserving some tire, and then pushing later on or, looking for DRS with the teammates. So it will be very interesting to see frenemies next to each other instead of teammates like we have grown so accustomed to this season. But we are ready for racing action. Drivers are lined up on the grid. And we have 2, 3, 4 replacement drivers out there tonight. This is going to be one heck of a holiday spectacle. Tonight is our holiday race because I don't think we're going to be here next week. But anyway, semantics for after the race. It is lights out and we are away in Mexico City. NLR Maki takes the lead through the start, followed by Gott Palmer. We already have motion. Sharia Coleslaw and Callie Robb making moves before the first turn as we head down the main straight. Gott Palmer gets advantage on Maki. We head down. Maki takes it back as he takes the right line through there. The AlphaTauri goes just a bit wide through turns 2. We have some bunching up as is expected. Aero Racing now in 4th place, dropping Race Day down into 5th. And Callie Robb moving up into 6th. There we go. Ferraris and Aston Martin and Red Bulls are all together. So that did not last very long with the separation of the teams. Here we see the AWS possible race strategies for tires. We have obviously a 1 or 2 stop option. I'm sure we're going to see a healthy mix of both strategies here tonight. We have a McLaren on the infield. That is Houdini. Hopefully not with terminal damage. We're going to have to see what that call is once he is able to right that car. Looks like he's back underway here.
He is all good, and we are still holding with Maki in the lead. This one's going to be important for him. He is the replacement driver today. He is on hard tires. Only one other driver, I believe Nikki in the Alpine, is on hards, but he's down in 12th. Maki is in 1st on hard tires, and he's got a pair of mediums and soft right behind him. GSR Edwin going outside and then trying to go inside and takes over 2nd, but not further. Gott Palmer is falling down the standings, though. I didn't see what happened there.
Yeah, something crucial, critical happening to Gott Palmer there. That is unfortunate. He's now down in 9th, but that is not a death sentence. We're only on lap 2 here. We have 2 Ferraris battling it out in the corners. There's contact between the Ferraris, one of them swirling out to the outside. That driver, Callie Robb, is Race Day, the 15-second and 3 league penalty point, owner from last week's race, nudging his teammate out in one of the first turns in lap 2.
And look where we are in lap 2 now. We have Ferrari, Aston, Red Bull, Mercedes, and Red Bull. Looks like we have some more movement. Gott Palmer is dropping rapidly, just losing speed, and people are going past him. Just dropping almost to the back of the pack.
There may very well be something mechanical wrong with the Williams down there now. Very out of character. We'll see if he heads into the pits to see if he can't save this car. I can't get over the contact that we had in only lap 2 of this race between these 2 Ferraris. The race down the start-finish straight now with GSR Edwin and Maki. Edwin giving the replacement driver the what for. Maki tries to get a little cheeky there and then ends up backing off.
Yeah, Edwin was just cruising down that finish line straight. He's got the soft tires, so no match for Maki on the hards. We'll see if he can catch up. We have those 3 DRS zones. Only the one on the finish line is long enough, and Edwin might be able to pull out the gap with the better tires, but they were snaking back and forth down the finish line. I think I saw 3 switchbacks, and then that cutoff right at the end, just taking that position before entering the corner.
It's a decent strategy for Maki to throw on the hards from the start. At least I believe so. I think I would be in the same boat. I kind of think I know where his head's at, staying up there with the big dogs and trying to, stay out there longer than they will, hoping to play that little game of chicken with GSR Edwin, Aero Racing, and the Ferraris there, as they will all need to pit probably before Maki does. So we'll see if he's able to keep that gap healthy with the Mercedes in front of him, and long enough for him to really, let those hard tires shine. You go mediums or softs after this? I mean, do you think he can make it long enough on these tires to just do a one-stopper on the softs?
We'll see. This one does have a lot of turns. I feel like it would eat up those softs quickly. We got 36 laps on this track.
Yeah.
He was able to keep with them. I mean, he couldn't close. Oh, and just goes through the inside.
He was unable to what?
Excuse me, not on the straight with the DRS, but going into the corners. How about that?
That was cheeky. That was a smooth overtake there on the inside line. But yeah, like you said, once we get under DRS, those soft tires, we've already seen it 4 laps in, make quick work of the AlphaTauri. But Maki's definitely going to try and take the defensive angle as much as he can. He does have more liberty than other drivers out there with how much movement he can tolerate besides keeping the car on the line. We're on board with Scarenzi now, who is in 6th place following both of these Ferraris with his teammate Cynical right behind. We do have some movement down in the towards the end of the pack. Fireballer, Scavney, and Travis Scotts have all been kind of moving around, undulating there in the late mid pack. But definitely enjoying these groupings, especially under DRS. We are not in for a boring race, that's for sure.
Yeah, with those 3 zones, Scarenzi wasn't able to get past Cali Raw because Cali still has DRS as well. I thought that was an overtake. It's just the way the camera pans. But we do have Race Day sneaking by, or trying to get by GSR Edwin, and just goes off and comes back on. Looks like he's going to stay in 3rd for now, but Aero Racing Design is sneaking up there in the Alpine.
Yeah, Race Day trying to take a Chihi outside line past GSR Edwin, but GSR held his line, pushing Race Day off. That will not be an infraction on GSR Edwin, as Race Day was trying to push him off of his line, that he did have full ownership of. Aero Racing, we'll see if he can do anything with Race Day here right in front, but I'm sure all of the drivers out on the grid just a wee bit clenched seeing that Ferrari around them following last week's. I don't want to rag too hard on the guy, but there were some, we can say, some cheeky decisions in Belgium last week. So he definitely has pace, though. We can see on this straight getting by GSR Edwin's Mercedes. GSR Edwin not going to let that stand for long. He is going to be fighting to try and regain that position. Aero Racing seeing if he can't capitalize on that lost pace of the Silver Arrows as well.
And Race Day up in 2nd. He's now closing in on Mackie. Edwin was behind Mackie by more than a second, did not have DRS. And now Race Day is going to bring the rest of this train with him. I think all the way down from 2nd to 8th in this DRS train behind the leader.
Wow. Yeah,
Choo-choo.
that is... That I mean, how impressive is it, though? I know there was some fighting between 2nd through 5th right there, but Maki on the hards is now almost a second ahead of 2nd place. He might be able to evade the DRS detection from the rest of the pack. Right now, he has it. We'll see if Race Day can do anything to change that, but he has no DRS. Yeah, the pack is starting to thin out at the front. Wow, I just can't get over the pace of this AlphaTauri right now.
Yeah, that's going to help him in the long run. These guys that are fighting behind him, that is just losing time on everyone's part when they start battling in the corners. We'll see GSR Edwin trying to consider making a move and then just popping back behind, keeping more slipstream. There wasn't enough track left to do so. But Mackie is on the hards. We should check what everyone else is now. A good mix of medium, some soft tires. Edwin was on soft. Sharia Bacon, both Red Bulls. And then look at the Haas's up in 12th and 13th. Those are some high positions for them.
Yeah, I'll definitely say. It's lap 7, and knock on wood, both of the Haas's are still in the race. So there's something to say for that as well. We continue to have some fighting back in the late mid-pack. Travis Scott's just overtaking Ray there, breaking up that Haas wall. We'll see if he can put a dent in that almost 2.5 second gap between him and Scavney. As this pack starts to thin out, we do have some more movement. It's GSR Edwin and Aero Racing Design through the stadium. Back and forth through the chicanes they go. It's Aero Racing. It's GSR Edwin. But Aero Racing, GSR Edwin is going to be able to come out of this one in 3rd place. That was a wonderful battle that we were able to enjoy from the Aston Martin of Scarenzi. Those two drivers absolutely clawing. Talk about clawing. Race day now takes the lead past NLR Mackie. We have a Ferrari in first, a Ferrari in fourth.
I cannot get over these 5 cars. But Aero Racing had a little bit of spin on the curb, keeps the car under control, but Scarenzi is going to move on through. Just so close down that finish line stretch, and Scarenzi drives right on the heels of the car in front of him. He is not scared to just stick it there.
Yeah, remember we were talking about that trust exercise. This is a 36 lap trust exercise between 20 drivers, all operating machines that have no assists whatsoever on them that will increase their skill or their speed. These guys are true professionals. I don't care if they're not getting paid. These guys are true professionals at what they do.
Just so incredible to watch. Mackie is still keeping right behind race day. We're going to head into the finish line stretch again.
He's going to get a chance at DRS. We're going to see if those hard tires are able to keep pace with the Ferrari here under DRS. Here we go. It is open right there. He is away. The Baby Bulls are definitely running. Will it be enough to catch the Stallion ahead of him as we head into turn 1? It is not. Race day is going to be able to close that door, at least for now. We have 2 corners before we hit the second of 3 DRS zones. Here we go, 3, 2, 1, open yet again. This double blow of DRS is such an advantage for anyone that is able to activate it. It is just a wonderful thing. I love all of these back-to-back DRS zones that we have seen pop up on the calendar in the past couple of years. Because, you might be able to overtake someone and still have DRS into that second stretch. It's just a wonderful thing.
And looking at the map, is that a double DRS detection zone? It looks like the last 2 turns is the detection, maybe for both. There's a speed trap. I don't know if that doubles as a second detection zone.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
There's tracks that do both.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, different tracks do that differently.
Right.
I guess we'll have to watch someone make a pass on the finish line straight and then watch their DRS like a hawk.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for it. We do have a couple of penalties out on track right now. I did not see them come across the screen. Can only presume that they are track limits penalties. Those being awarded to Travis Scott and GSR Edwin. It's not going to have a massive impact just yet. We're going to see how they fare now with about 3 seconds tacked onto their final times. Want to take a quick second and thank all the stewards for today's race, one of which is out on track right now. Thank you to League Commissioner Pork Chops and stewards W.S. Bacon and Knuckles, our head D1 steward for season 11. These guys make the magic happen both during race day and through the entire week leading up with all of the steward reports, all of the back and forth between these drivers. We would not have the league without our stewards. So thank you very much for doing the hard work. Thank you to Pork Chops, who was doing handstands and trying to juggle at the same time here tonight, getting all of these last-minute holiday reservations and replacement drivers in place for tonight's race. Thank you very much to Coach Bob for clarifying 3-second track penalties for both GSR Edwin and Travis Scott.
Got our man in the sky watching the stat line.
Gotta love it.
We Picturing the baseball stat sheet where you're writing next to each driver.
Yeah, we need to get him OBS so that he can be our producer. I think he has the timing for it. We just have to train him. Maybe we'll get him a switchboard with some really big letters, some really big buttons with bright lights to make it easy for him.
It's going to be one of the Fisher-Price ones that you just press and nothing changes?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. That's wireless. It's wireless. Don't worry about it. There's no cable. Yes. You're good. You're killing it.
The move that works on 2-year-old siblings and parents.
And my father. Yeah. Oh, we're on board now with Aero Racing Design, who was fighting for a top 3 position not too long ago, but may have blown that opportunity, at least before his pit stop, as Scarenzi was able to get by him after his quick skirmish with Callie Robb and GSR Edwin. We are still sitting with Race Day atop the leaderboard, followed closely by Maki, who has been able to keep him within half a second for a few laps now. Just a reminder, if you've forgotten, MLR Mackey running hard tires, so he is really pushing this car to the limit to make sure he is keeping pace with the rest of them. GSR Edwin had a quick tumble, but is now back in 3rd place. We are cemented as of right now. I spoke way too soon. NLR Mackey retakes 1st place over Race Day. They're back and forth through Sector 1, and it's Mackey taking the lead, but with DRS, will Race Day be able to get by him as we head down the stretch? No, not just yet. He takes the inside line. He nudges ahead. The back and forth, Maki is going to get the better of him. Maki driving a defensive line right now as I've ever seen one. Race Day, that time, able to keep it on the track. These two are in an absolute dogfight right now. Look at them go.
They are not giving this one up. It is incredible to watch. And even though we did have the penalties last week, that happens when you are a driver who will fight for every single spot that you want. You're going to get your nose into those corners, and sometimes you make contact, and sometimes you have some beautiful racing like we just witnessed.
That was wonderful as these two drivers head through the stadium section. A slower look at the cars for the fans in the stands. But now it is all beans, full beans here, these two cars, as they rip down the start-finish straight to start lap 13 of the Mexican Grand Prix. It's Race Day under DRS, taking NLR Mackey yet again. These two heading down into turn 1, heading through turn 2 shortly, and getting ready to activate that second of 3 DRS zones. Here we go around the corner, and open goes Maki. We'll see if he can get pace back on Race Day. I have a feeling that these two are going to be at it for a couple of laps here.
So it is one of those single DRS checkpoint for 2 DRS zones.
Yep.
Because Race Day took first, and then he still had DRS in the next zone. So that one is tough here. If you can make the pass on the first one, then you get an open running, and the person who just dropped down the second has to fight for that. Now, Mackey did a great job. It's a shorter second DRS zone as well, so you're not going to take away too far. It's kind of there to ensure if you get the overtake that you don't immediately lose it back. But these two just going toe-to-toe.
Yeah, this is not getting old. Most of the rest of the pack has settled quite a bit. Haven't seen too much movement. But then again, my eyes have been glued to 2 incredible drivers here on screen right now. Here we go yet again. Race Day, though, with a bit more of an interval than we had starting lap 13. Maki, though, still within 1/10 now as we head down into turn 1. Oh, this is absolutely phenomenal. I love watching this AlphaTauri roar. Fireballer now making his way up as we have both of the Red Bulls dipping into the pits. I believe one was on softs and one was on mediums, but it is about that time. We also have a Haas of Scavney heading into the pits as well. We're going to start to see these pit strategies playing out shortly, but the focus is still atop the board here between these two drivers, still under half a second between the two of them. Race Day and the replacement driver, Maki, filling in for Lightwork. I think that's wrong.
That sounds right. I'd buy that.
It was one of them. He's driving one of the cars.
Oh, moving camera got me a little queasy. I was sitting too close to the TV for that one. Gonna back her up about 10%.
Yes, Maki is driving Lightworks vehicle today, and Sui driving his own Alfa Romeo down in 12th place, able to get past Gunnar and Travis Scott's. GSR Edwin was sitting in 3rd, but he has decided that it is time to switch out his shoes for a new pair. Maki now taking 1st place from Race Day yet again as we head into lap 15. It only took 2 laps but we are still at it with these two drivers. Maki riding the line there, just skirting a track limits penalty as we head down into turn 3, 4, 3, 4. It's one of the chicanes. It's one of them.
And Maki is able to hold that position. So interesting to see race day gaining on him even without the DRS, but that Ferrari's starting to look a bit more squirrely in the corners as those medium tires are starting to reach the end of their life, depending on how he has treated them so far throughout the race. Mackey's still having just very excellent grip out there, but a little bit of a slower tire.
Travis Scott's just getting by Sui and Gunner, a double overtake. Travis Scott's now moving up into 11th place while Sui and Gunner battle it out. Now Gunner and Bacon battle in the middle rear of the pack as Maki is gaining time. I mean, look at that. That is the farthest interval that we have seen between these front two drivers for most of this race, I believe. Under DRS now, of course, closing that gap is Race Day, is able to overtake NLR Maki yet again. But Maki able to get him in the chicane. Like you said, Mitch, we are starting to see the effects of tire degradation on the rest of the pack. And it looks like Maki is getting that little bit of boost, that advantage on the hard tires that he was probably hoping for at the start.
And we're also seeing Aero Racing now up into third. Cali Rob and Scarenzi still hot on his heels. Rest of the pack behind them has dropped into the pits to put on some new tires. So Nicky's 10 seconds behind Scarenzi right now. So he'll come out in front after the pit stop by at least most of these drivers. Let's check out his tires. Yeah, almost everyone has stopped at this point. Some of the medium tires have held out. I think some of them have switched. Not many, though. It's got to be
Aero Racing, but the 3-second track limits penalty there. Pushing as hard as he can to try and catch up to these two, making up almost 4 seconds to catch the leaders of today's race. That is quite a gap that they have put on the rest of the pack.
I am curious to see how long Maki can stay out on these tires. All the medium tires still going strong. We're over halfway through the race. So Maki would have no problem going to mediums. I imagine he could stretch it to softs if he needs to. Medium tire guys, though, they have to make a choice at some point because they have to go to soft tires as well. Or hard tires.
Jeez.
But
yeah,
if you're out here more than half of the race, they're probably going to soft tires.
Yeah,
because we're about to reach the halfway point. Yeah. So you would go to soft after the halfway point, but will they last that long?
Well, 1 lap to go as we see Race Day again, little squirrely through these chicanes, trying to keep up with Maki in front. As we were recapping, GSR Edwin took fastest lap with a 1:18 and some change. Absolutely flying back there on a new pair of shoes. Race Day right there with that squirrely rear end, taking a 3-second penalty for track limits. Very, very difficult, especially on this track with how close some of these transitional corners are. When you're trying to gain position, when you're trying to make up, you can really get a lot of it in the corners. But if you're riding that line, you're riding the line. It's Occam's razor. You could fall either way. And sometimes you get cut. That was the case there for Race Day, who is now deciding to take it into the pits. It's time to switch those tires out for something else, a little shinier, a little newer. NLR Maki enjoying a few seconds by himself out on this track. Those hard tires, 17 laps. I mean, look at that. First 3 drivers and Fireballer, VTech, and the like also still on their originals. Kate Thomas able to make his mediums last 14 laps as well. These guys are chewing these tires up.
They are, and this is good. I mean, Nikki and Mackie, I believe, are the only two to start on those hard tires, and Nikki was down at the middle of the pack. We do have a caution flag out, though. All clear. I didn't see anyone causing any issues. I was about to say that would maybe be one of the issues, but they would also get the free pit stop.
Yeah, that would be huge for those guys. But like you said, we are now past the halfway point of this race. So if they're heading into the pits, they may very well be able to, try and wait a couple more laps, maybe 1, 2, 3, if they can make it, to swap in for those softs to really, really hit it hard here on the back half. What's up, Bone Crusher? I see you down in chat there. Want to shout out all of our executive producers hanging out in chat tonight. Hope y'all have a wonderful holiday season. Safe travels if that is in your plans as well. It goes to everyone, not just our executive producers. Callie Robb dipping down into 9th as he exits the pits. Apologies. Allowing the rest of the pack to move back up. Race Day, following his pit entry, is now sitting in 4th. So we have a bit of movement in the mid-high pack.
We now have a quite big spread out here on the track. Mackey, 15 seconds. He's almost at the pit stop gap that he needs to come back out in first, which would be incredible if he can do that. Going on hard tires, if he can come out on soft in first or second or third, he's gotta have. Let's see who has the tires. Nicky's also going to have to stop so he can be his competitor. It looks like Mackey is going to go in. He came to a very fast stop at the end of the pit lane.
He knows what is at stake here.
He was using every inch of that.
This is one that we are going to want to stay on board with. Yeah, maybe hop on with GSR Edwin. We see if Maki is able to. He is not. GSR Edwin is going to get by him in the pits there. Maki will re-enter not too far down the grid. He could still make up this time, but wow, what an impressive gap. What an impressive run for 20 laps, leading a majority of them right there as the replacement for the AlphaTauri team tonight.
Now he is on medium tires, which probably at this point, that's a really good choice. The next closest is Edwin on 5-lap-old medium tires, which is over halfway of the race. So he might have to stop one more time, or those tires are going to be dragging a bit at the end. Everyone else is on hards around Mackey, so he's gonna have some gas in him for a while.
It looks like VTech heading into the pits to swap out those tires as well. Was also running an old set there, but I believe that no, we're still waiting on Nicky for a pit stop, correct?
Yes, Nicky will have to go in for the pit at some point. He's still on his original hard tires. Could see him stretch that a long way, though. He started... Let's see where he started, because it was further down.
Look at that, 9 places.
So he could maybe try and drag these out and then go to soft, because he would dip down probably back to the middle of the pack either way. See how he's feeling? Some cars are starting to catch up to him.
We are 15 laps from the checkered flag, and I've officially started to get sweaty in my seat. Can't tell you why, but right past the halfway point every single week, you and I both, I don't know what it is. Well, you're in a new studio now, so the air might be a little better there, but I just get a little warm. Well, I'm definitely getting a little warm and sweaty now. NLR Mackey getting up into 3rd place past those old tires of Nicky's Alpine. Mackey back in the hunt, trying to make up that almost 1.5 second, now down to 1 to catch up with his best friend, Race Day.
And he already is within DRS. Look how quick he was able to accomplish that. And then GSR Edwin, if he does have to pit, it might be lights out for him. Now, his only hope right now is that Mackey and Race Day were fighting for the first 15 or 16 laps of this race. And they might fight again for the next 15 or 16. That was right before the DRS checkpoint. I'll just point that out there.
It certainly was. Another driver looking for an overtake.
Oh,
now
but Mackey did get it.
Whoa. NLR Mackey able to hold position in second as Scarenzi goes past Nicky's Alpine. Nicky really needs to get that car into the pits as he's now dropping into 7th, seeing the effects of running almost 3/4 of this race on a single set of tires. Aero Racing and Sharia Coleslaw now duking it out the corners.
They were getting close too. I'll have to go back. I think that was another maybe instance of DRS chicken or just letting someone through, but Mackie was able to jump up into first and still have the DRS for both of those zones, which definitely helps him. He is now 1.2 seconds over race day.
Yeah, that pace. I mean, that is such a scary pace. He's not even a lap past race day, and he is almost a second and a half faster than him. What a wonderful race from NLR Mackie today. He's not racing in Division 1 this season, but he is definitely no slouch, and he is no stranger to the rigors of racing in Division 1. An absolute player over there for AlphaTauri.
I'm going to have to pull out the stats vault in a minute, too, to see everything about Mackie because he just set the fastest lap. Once he gets within 3 seconds, he will also be at GSR Edwin's penalty, I believe. So unless that goes away... Oh, Edwin is at a 6 seconds. 6 seconds of penalties right now.
Well, that's not great. It doesn't bode well for him. And the storyline back in 8th place right now with Nicky also not boding well. Just dropping positions, almost holding up a sign, free spots available. Pass on the outside as Cynical is looking to get by him again. Not sure why Nicky is waiting so long. Now playing a bit of chicken. Maybe he's trying to get Cynical a little track limits there as he tried to nudge him onto the outside. But Cynical able to get by. No surprise there. Nicky's pretty much running ragged truck tires at this point. He really needs to get this thing into pit so he can maintain, at least keep into the top 10 here.
Do we know if Mackie is he racing in a division this season, or is he a fill-in driver? He does have in Division 1, he has 12 starts, 3 wins, 6 podiums. So he's competed in Division 1 before and gotten those wins.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he is definitely a contender. I'm scrolling through the divisions real quick. If you want to take the call, Mitch, take controls.
I can certainly try. Callie Robb going on a move on Sharia Coleslaw. But Coleslaw is going to try and take it back. And then Callie Robb takes it back. I always hold my breath in that corner just from flashbacks of watching the race this year where Checo and friends got in a little bit of a pinch in that first corner, and the game uses the same camera angle, so I'm always, clenching just a little bit watching that.
Death-defying. It doesn't look like Mackie is racing in a division this season, so taking one off as a part-time fill-in driver, which is even more impressive. He's not racing.
Was filling us in too. He was Skrenzy's teammate last season. Shoot. That's why the name sounds familiar. Yep. Don't think he's racing full-time, but available to fill in when needed, and certainly helping out AlphaTauri, who is missing Ryan Rods this weekend. But I believe Alpha... I gotta look at these standings again.
And I believe we're not going to see Ryan Rods back until Saudi Arabia in
maybe a couple weeks.
January.
That he was mentioning.
Yeah. So maybe we will see more of Mackie. I mean, definitely, you definitely want him to continue carrying this torch if Ryan is unable to run for his team. I mean, it does not seem like Mackie is a bad second, a backup option here.
No, that's definitely going to help. Alpha is currently 48 points behind Red Bull. They were 2 ahead before last week, but Alpha only had 1 racer in last week's event, which hurt on the points. Mackie making sure it doesn't hurt that much.
I do want to point out we are almost in the 10 laps to go, and we still have 20 cars on the track, and knock on wood.
You did it.
Knock on wood. We've yet to see any incidents on track. I'm saying it. There it is. Commentator's curse has been dropped. The spirit of the season. Santa Claus is going to make sure that these drivers stay safe here in Mexico. All right. I believe, Mitch. I believe.
Do you want to go full commentator's curse here?
Do you believe? Yes, please. Send it.
Okay. I'm going to roll a D20. And
no.
whoever's Cali Rob, number 6.
No.
Good luck with the rest of the race, buddy.
Sorry, Cali Rob. Aero Racing getting by Scarenzi there up into 4th. And putting some distance between the Aston Martin there. Yeah, sorry, Cali Rob. Did not mean to do that to you. It was the die. Don't blame Mitch.
It had to be one of them. And it is nice though. Like a race, we're more than halfway through. We're 2/3 of the way through. No like safety car, virtual safety car, anything anything to impact the strategy that they came in with at the beginning of the race, or spin. Haven't seen any major incidents. There might have been some bumping that people might complain about, but
well, we did see that bit of a skirmish between Race Day and Cali Rob there in the opening lap. But yeah, it was nothing drastic that had any effect on the outcome of today's race. So this has been phenomenal. You always want to see a clean race, but they are few and far in between, especially when you have so many different drivers from so many different backgrounds out on the track.
In a tighter track like this too. I mean, there's that whole sector too is just sweeping corners back and forth. We've seen a lot of drivers trade positions or go too wide into a corner, and they've been able to keep those cars under control. I think there was one that stopped into the pits in lap 3, 4, or 5, which is an early pit stop. But the main thing is the car's still out there.
I'm getting some wild glitching here on our Parsec screen share, just letting you know. So if I miss something, please feel free to interrupt me.
Just making sure it's not the stream as well. We are all good there.
Yep. It's just me. It's this good old Baltimore internet that we got rolling here. Shout out to Xfinity. You want armpit internet service where you can't find any other company to give you internet service? Xfinity is there for you. Don't worry.
Not an ad.
Not an ad. I don't think they wanted that to be an ad, but it sure wasn't.
We do have Scarenzi pushing up on Aero Racing Design, coming in to the finish line straight. So he's going to get a nice heap of double DRS to try and move up into 4th, but that might as well be 2nd after these penalties are applied.
Load the gun and cock it. It's Scarenzi in the Aston Martin down the finish straight past Aero Racing Design into 4th place. Like Mitch said, pretty much into 2nd place there with the track limits penalties that have been applied to GSR Edwin and Race Day. And now Travis Scott's again with another 3-second penalty for track limits. Scarenzi able to get it done there on the straight.
We do have Cali Rob joining this friendly party, though. We are starting to build up a nice little group of friends on the track. Maybe get another DRS train going. Those fans are loving it. And Cali Rob swinging to the inside before shooting into this corner. He's now going to be hot on Aero Racing Design's heels.
Yeah, you can see Scarenzi shot out of a cannon there, trying to gain that interval on Aero Racing Design, trying to shake him, but he just can't quite get there. And Aero Racing putting some space between him and Cali Rob as well. This is a fun little pack right here. Not too aggressive at the moment, but 3 drivers that can definitely pull the trigger and just rip at any given moment. So these 3 are just waiting for somebody to slip up, something to happen, so they can capitalize on that moment. Much like Cali Rob did last week in Belgium, to skeep his way up into a 1st place finish. We are on lap 29 of 36 here in Mexico City. It is the AlphaTauri of NLR Maki in 1st place, followed by GSR Edwin, Race Day, Aero Racing Design now above Scarenzi in 5th.
I'm checking out the penalties here too. We have 3 seconds for Aero Racing, 3 seconds for Race Day, 6 seconds for GSR Edwin, which would put all of them, I believe Race Day would still be ahead of Scarenzi. That's going to change, at least time-wise. I can't call that right now. Too much math to try and do in your head.
I was going to say, I will let you handle all of that math. Travis Scott's, though, I can do that math. He's had 3 track limits infractions already, bringing his penalty total to 9 seconds. That is staggering for a driver who has been able to hold in the late middle of this pack for the majority of today's race, now in 14th. But those 9 seconds are going to have serious impact on him. Well, he does have an 8-second interval behind him and Sui, so we'll have to see how that all shakes out there. But drivers with the quickness, Gunnar has had a rather interesting race, moving up into 13th, 12th for a couple of seconds there, swapping places with Houdini, and now back in 17th following that pit entry exit that we saw, the full sail change of the grid. Both McLarens have had some decent movement here today, but they've been unable to shake it and get past that 10th place mark. But again, everyone has remained clean. 6 laps to go here. It is full beans. It is time for the full send. I don't care what position. I don't care what that interval is. DRS or none, you are sending it. Claw your way across that finish line. Maki is on the drive of his life. Dun dun.
I can't top that. That was beautiful. He just
What
do you say about beans?
Send my award to Baltimore, Maryland.
It's in the mail.
Full beans, baby.
Full beans. And last week was squirrely bits.
No, the squirrely bits. Well, full beans is not mine. Full beans is a crafty Martin Brundle. That is a term I believe that Martin uses pretty regularly, giving it full beans, giving it the full beans. We have another track limits going to none other than Pedro Rodriguez, the Mexican-born driver. Amazing, just amazing that we have had 6 races with F1 drivers as well. Some posthumous, but nonetheless, we have had some absolute firepower here in season 11.
Cali Robb moving up into 5th over Aero Racing Design. It's like just a little battle between Scarenzi, Aero Racing, Cali Robb taking advantage, sliding up in. We do have a caution in Sector 2. All the cars seem to be moving, so that will clear up.
Yeah, there may have been a quick little skirmish there at the... I'm not sure where that happened. But yeah, like we were saying, that Scarenzi, Cali Robb, Aero Racing pack waiting for someone just to mess up, and it looked like Cali was able to get that overtake rather cleanly. But these 3 clinicians just holding it down 4th through 6th right now. Looked like there might have been some juke down in the stadium section. Maybe a little gum up there. Someone might have went wide, but yeah, thankful that all of the cars are still running. We have 4 laps to go here from Mexico, and we still have a baby bull sitting atop the grid.
It's again that corner. Leaves me speechless every time.
It never gets old.
I was checking to see if Cali Robb was going to have enough room. And here it doesn't seem like he will either. So those 3 will hold their positions right now. Nikki is closing in on Bacon on the finish line straight. Goes past him. So we'll take over 9th place. That group, however, 15 seconds behind 8. So we have a 15-second gap. Then we have a 15-second gap between 11th and 12th.
Can you do me a favor and show us the tires? Please.
Absolutely.
When did Nikki switch? When did Nikki jump into the pits? 8 laps ago. Okay.
Yes.
That's not terrible. We have a caution in Sector 3. I mean, just look at all the traffic down there. Of course we have a caution in Sector 3. Half the pack is on top of one another right now.
I believe it was the McLaren, and Ellie was saying we had a blue flag on Palmer.
Ooh.
And it does look like Mackie is closing the gap, and he will next be up on... I'm trying to read those cars. I think Sui and LV Tech. We already have a couple cars lapped. Such a short track that it is, especially without safety cars happening, this can happen near the end of the race.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Maki just on an absolute tear here today. He deserves every single blue flag that he can get here in Mexico.
I think I understand why some of the drivers were a little scared seeing that he was the substitute in today's race.
Yeah, they weren't. He didn't get a warm welcome to the grid.
It's like saying, hey,
that.
high schoolers, you're going to be racing Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen tonight.
And we're playing T-ball down at the field, and I think Shohei Ohtani is going to sub in for little Timmy today.
Yeah, he's pitching. We're not doing T-ball today.
We're going to do full pitch if your team's okay with it. Get up there, Billy. You'll be fine. He's just a kid like you. It's just baseball. Yeah, that is scary to see Maki just go, all right. Drop in and put on an absolute show like he has here today. Between the fights with him, GSR Edwin, race day, and the like, has just been an electrical run here at the top of the grid. We may not have a final word from Cali Rob as he looked to get by Scarenzi there, just didn't have it in him on the finish straight. We'll see what he can do with only 2 laps to go. He's gunning for a 4th place finish. Can he get past what is that? The Aston Martin? No, he cannot. What just happened there?
I don't try to understand after a certain point.
Sometimes my eyes just roll to the back of my head and words continue to come out. It's scary and delightful all at the same time. I have really fallen in love with the battle between 4th and 6th here. Scarenzi, Cali, Rob, and Aero Racing Design. These 3 have been running a pretty tight pack here for the last third of today's race. And it's still, with only 2 laps to go, it's still anyone's call as to where these 3 are going to finish here today.
It's very hard to judge when the passing will happen between these 3. Just because sometimes it happens very fast in the corner. Cali Rob shooting to the inside, and I think
there it is.
Has plenty of room. But in the next corners, can he hold it? Because he goes a little tight on that corner. Scarenzi's usually very good at keeping that driving line, but Aero Racing Design is just behind him and putting some pressure on as they go through the second DRS zone.
Yeah, we've seen Aero Racing in front. We've seen Scarenzi in front. We're going to give Cali Rob a chance to show us what he's worth as he builds a wall, albeit a rather spaced out wall, with his Ferrari teammate Race Day. He's currently sitting in 3rd place, but again, with those penalties to GSR Edwin and Race Day for track limits, there will definitely be some motion between these top 4 drivers minus NLR Mackie, who has run a very clean, very, very fast race.
Yes, we do have 6 seconds for Edwin, 3 seconds for Race Day, and then plenty of penalties throughout the rest of the pack. So we'll see the actual standings after the race is over. What we can say is that Mackie has not had a penalty applied yet, and he is 6 seconds in front of Edwin. So he should be taking home first place. Scarenzi and Cali Rob not giving up the fight, though, and Scarenzi loving to hold less than a 0.2 of a second gap on any driver in front of him at any point in time. We'll see if he has enough room, because he only has 2 DRS zones left.
We know all too well how deadly Scarenzi can be within 0.3 even of the driver in front of him. Cali Rob now trying to break away as frantically as possible, but Scarenzi saying, no, I got you. I see you. It's all good. I'm here. Don't worry. Daddy's here.
So give a caution up in Sector 2. All gone once again.
That may be another blue flag. I mean, look, NLR Mackie has had most of this race to himself, and he decided he was done. He was bored with it. He wanted to find some other drivers to pass. So he found the back of the pack. Here we go. NLR Mackie is turning into the finish straight. There he goes across the line, the replacement driver for AlphaTauri. Light work out, NLR Mackie in, and NLR Mackie in for first place. That is a pole position victory for the Baby Bulls, followed by GSR Edwin, Race Day, Callie Robb, Scarenzi, Aero Racing Design now across the line as we await the Red Bulls of Sharia Coleslaw, Bacon, and the Aston Martin of Cynical. What a phenomenal race from this entire pack. The only race this season to go without a single caution, without a single yellow flag or a safety car. Got Palmer. Oh, I spoke too soon. Got Palmer with a DNF right in the last lap. I wonder what happened there.
Didn't see, but I'm wondering if he did it for the fun. He completed 90% of the race, so he was getting those points.
Yeah.
And I've done that a few times.
That was wonderful. We hear all of the drivers sounding off now saying, wow, that out of all of the races, that was one of them. All green. When was the last time that any of these drivers have seen an all green race? It's been quite a while. Is Callie Robb and Aero Racing Design now sounding off? Callie Robb saying, how much do you hate me, Scarenzi? He was able to get by him, best him in the final few laps of today's race. That was a fun one. That was not too dramatic, which is good for my voice. It's good for my heart. Oh, look at this. Mackie, God status as he levitates onto the podium where he belongs. The finish flash, making it happen for AlphaTauri. It's NLR Mackie in victory here before we head into a holiday break at Nick and Mitch.
I was, you might want to check him for using some magic or something a little special in that race. Talking with Mackie at the end of the race too, or with race day, that thought they were working together until race day started to defend, and then it was time to battle, and the drivers surely did battle today.
Absolutely. Well, here we go. Here are the final standings before the stewards get involved for MidWest eSports. We have NLR Mackie followed by GSR Edwin. Race day, Callie Robb, those two Ferraris blocking it out for third and fourth, followed by Scarenzi, Aero Racing Design, Sharia Coleslaw, Cynical, Fireballer, Pedro Rodriguez, Bacon, Scavney, Houdini, Travis Scotts, and the rest of them. I don't have the analog stick, so I can't scroll down, but they've definitely crossed the line, and we definitely know Gott Palmer was the only DNF on today's race, but we can assume that that was self-implied. Ah!
Where'd you go?
I'm
there
here.
You are.
I forgot to click it. I pulled a U. My bad.
I was worried.
Nope, we are here. Thank you very much for joining us for today's race. Next week is going to take the pack to Qatar, but unfortunately, it will stop for us right here in Mexico. We will pick it back up for Division 1 as they head to COTA in just a few weeks. I will be traveling for the holidays next week and will be unable to call the race. So unless Mitch wants to try a solo run or trying to get someone on the stream with him, we are going to take a quick bow out for the race in Qatar. We will be covering the December 28th race in Hungary, but I believe that will be Division 3 or Division 2. And then, like I said, we will return in January in 2024 for the Division 1 contest in Austin, Texas, the Circuit of the Americas. That one is going to be a wonderful treat. Hopefully most of this pack is back following the holiday break. Thank you very much for watching today's event. Thank you for sticking with Nick and Mitch. Thank you to MidWest eSports for everything that they've done for us, these drivers, and the league racing as a whole. If you are celebrating the Christmas holiday, have a wonderful time with your loved ones, your closest. Have safe travels, have a great meal, all of that good jazz. We will see you back here before the new year for a Division 2 or Division 3 race in Hungary.
Yes, I'm excited for that, and hopefully I remember to change back from the holiday music if it's after the holidays. We'll see. I might not remember.
Maybe you just keep it. You did the hard work to change that. Maybe you just keep it.
We always do that in holiday stuff, like put in a few hours of work for just one bit that we use once a year, but that's what we love.
Well, you have just under a month to learn the banjo and put a banjo over the Coda theme song. So I think we can get a little over that one.
I'll get right on that.
Yeah, it's going to hit the spot. Thanks for joining Nick and Mitch for another installment. Week 6 of racing here in Season 11 of Midwest eSports Formula One Division 1. We'll see you back here on December 28th for a lower division race in Hungary and January 4th for our Division 1 return to the Circuit of the Americas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. We'll see you soon.
And special thank you goes out to all of our YouTube members. Nicholas, cannot believe you forgot that.
The people that pay us every month to make sure that we have all of these elements in place. I'm so sorry.
I'm here. Our special thanks to our YouTube members, executive producers. We're all here. Bone Crusher 2D, Coach 34, and my mom. Co-producers Captain Snowbeard, Killer Vapor, and Kirsten, and our fans and Fans Plus. If you want to become a member, it helps support our channel. It helps pay for our music licenses, like the holiday music we've used today, our assets, everything else that we do. You'll get some cool perks too, early access to the show, emojis, badges, other stuff that's listed when you hit the join button. It'll pop up during the stream.
Nick and Mitch has become a member. This is the test.
I forget, it always reads out the test too. I gotta change that text, maybe. And if you subscribe, it will also pop up, and we appreciate that just as much.
Yes, thank you very much to everyone who has gotten us over 2,000 subscribers. We will be doing a walk down memory lane at some point. We've been saying that for like 3 months at this point, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I promise. We will also have a return of our X Games style extreme sports, snowboarding, and skiing series that is now including BMX, mountain biking, and skateboards over in Ubisoft's title Riders Republic. So keep an eye out for that. That is the bread and butter. That is what we did to get here, in our YouTube careers. So going to be very exciting to get back to that, get back to our roots in the new year. But stay up to date, all of that good stuff. We'll see you at the next race. I'm Nick.
And I'm Mitch.
Happy holidays, everyone. Good night.